Why do you think that as followers of Jesus, we tend to care more about the afterlife than the hell that is around us and that is waiting for reconciliation?
Thank you. Thank you. That's a
Question.
great one.
Good question.
I almost don't want to comment on that.
You wrote a book on this, didn't you?
I did?
I'm sure you did.
No, see, maybe we should. No, but, the thing, and this is something I appreciate about Rob Bell's book, is that he's saying that the whole idea of the eschatology, afterlife, in the New Testament, and really throughout the Bible, it's much more in the New Testament, is that it's simply the consequence of now. But it starts now. I mean, our job is to be living heaven on earth now. And there are people who are making hell on earth now. That's just an et cetera, of what's going on now. So the focus ought to be, and I think this is exactly where the New Testament is at. I think it's one of the values of Jesus using Gehenna, this dump, as a reality indicator for what hell's all about, is he's making it concrete. This is here now. And what Jesus is calling us to is to repent now. Turn from our way of living that leads to destruction and turn to life now. And that means you start living life. And so you start caring about the hell around you, and you start demonstrating the love of God and the justice of God by living a countercultural way, by serving people, by basically having the life of Christ planted in you and then flowing through you as you serve the world and love your enemies and begin to try to eradicate hell now. Because it's starting now. As heaven is starting now, and there's the two are in flux. And how we live, how we decide to take our domain of influence, our kingdom, and bring it under God's domain, that makes a difference. It makes a difference. And that's really the calling of the gospel. That should be far more our emphasis than the details about what happens once a person dies or once history wraps up. Yeah. Thanks for asking that great question.
If the only question is, am I going to heaven or hell, well, then we can create a really convenient gospel about that. One that takes about a 5-second sinner's prayer, and then we're done. And then you kind of live life however you want for the next 50 years or whatever, and you're kind of your deal's signed. And that is so not the gospel of Jesus Christ. It's a convenient consumeristic gospel that gives me my fire insurance, but it's not what Jesus was after when he called people to follow him and trust him and walk in the ways of his covenant Father.
I tell you, part of the problem is that we have we've so centralized this court of law way of thinking about our relationship with God. The judge, and we're the defendant, and Jesus is our attorney. And there's some of that language, but it's not the dominant language in the New Testament. The idea of salvation or shalom is so holistic and organic and full and life. And the main analogy is a marriage and living out a marriage. And you just ask a totally different set of questions when you're in a marriage than you do when you're before a judge. Like, you're not thinking, how much can I get away with without losing my probation? I'm hoping in a marriage you don't ask that question. You might in a court of law, but in a marriage, you're not asking, how close to the edge can I get before I lose my salvation? No, before you'll divorce me. No, you should be asking, how do I pursue you more? How do we grow together more? And
Amen.
Unfortunately, because we've centralized this court of law thing, it's just set in motion all sorts of, you now buy your way out of prison with this get out of hell for free card, and then you just sort of coast, and it has nothing to do with real life.